But hello, good afternoon, and welcome everybody. This is our very own remarkable I Am Remarkable workshop. Okay, I would like to ask if you to please put in your name in the chat. Ideally, if we had more time and we could go ahead and introduce ourselves and talk a little bit. But if you are, as you're joining in, if you are comfortable, please put in your name and where you're joining us from. Now, because I'm speaking, I'm going to let you know. So my name is Krishna Kadiyala, and I'm joining everyone here from Dallas, Texas. I'm super excited to be here. Thank you for coming in. Feel free, feel comfortable enough to put things in the chat. I know Loyola is monitoring that for me, so thank you. Also, I would like you to know if you need, we do have closed captions available. The meeting is being recorded, and I'm super excited to have you join us for the next 1 hour. Now, there's going to be a time where I will ask for your participation. So please join in the participation. It'll make the workshop, it'll make the experience so much more better, so much more wonderful for all of us. But until then, please sit back, relax, and I want you to really experience the workshop. Feel comfortable. All right, let's get started. So please be on mute unless you want to say something. And when we ask for participation, feel free to unmute. If you want to talk to us, yes, we welcome that. We want to hear you. If you feel better typing in the chat, I will also be monitoring that. Thank you. All right, let's get started. So what are we going to do in the next about 60 to 70 minutes here, right? We're going to go ahead and we started with my introduction, and in the interest of time, I'm going to skip that, introducing each one of us here individually, but please feel free to put your introductions in the chat. It could be something as simple as your name and where you come from, or have you heard about this before? Any little thing, any personal little thing that you feel comfortable enough to share about yourself. Then we're going to go ahead and do some reflections on our own beliefs, our experiences, and I will take you through some of the key research that is underpinning the initiative and why it's so important before we start engaging in some of the participation exercises, and then we wrap with discussions. Okay, I'm seeing things coming in the chat real quick. Thank you. Wonderful, Rosemary. Okay, Loyola, thank you. And I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm going to say your name right. Is it Antoinette? I'm sorry, apologize if I didn't get that right. But thank you for joining us today. All right, let's get this show on the road, y'all. Okay, so first things first, what is I Am Remarkable, right? I Am Remarkable started in 2016 as an internal Google initiative in Google, the company. Now, initially, it was focused on empowering women to talk more openly about their accomplishments in the workplace and challenge the established gender modesty norms. If you have experienced that before, you know exactly what I mean. Now, however, as these workshops became popular, the team at Google quickly realized that this issue that they were raising and talking about is not necessarily specific to just women. They apply to everyone, including and more specifically, underrepresented groups across gender, ethnicity, sexuality. And the workshops now, that's why, are available to everyone. So whether you're currently comfortable with self-promotion or you just like to better understand the difficulties that others face and challenge the pre-existing preconceptions, this workshop is for you. Now, workshop participants have reported they leave feeling inspired and motivated to inspire others, and it is our hope that you will feel the same. Yes, it's gender modesty, absolutely. All right. Okay. So first, why is recognizing and sharing your achievements important? Anyone wants to say anything in the chat or unmute, feel free to do so. I was very surprised when I first attended the workshop to even recognize how I thought about my own achievements. So the question is, why is recognizing and sharing your achievements important? Why do you think that's even important to begin with? All right. And please put your answers in the chat. Or if you are courageous enough, feel free to go ahead and mute yourself and share your thoughts. I'm going to pause for just a minute here. Anyone? Why is it important, do you think? Why is it important to share your achievements? Yes, Rosemary, thank you. It can help with your own self-esteem. Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Need it for work like the resume. Absolutely. So a little tidbit about me is I work at Amazon Web Services right now, and I used to work in the academia. So I was a college professor until about 6 months ago, and I taught computer science. And one of the things that I really was surprised when I started the Amazon interview process is how much they give you the opportunity to talk about your achievements. They actually don't want to hear you say, we have accomplished something. They want you to say, I have done this. I have led the project. I have brought these results. And even though I have been doing this for a while, again, it was a learning process for me to pause and say, okay, how do I not say we, but also not sound like I am bragging, right? And it can become, if you are culturally brought up, maybe your family expectations, it can become very hard for you to talk about, I did that, I accomplished that. Thank you, Elizabeth. Yes, it can show what you bring to the table. Absolutely. It's super important because otherwise people will assume, especially in a workplace, in a team, if you have done any projects in a team at school, at work, volunteering, everywhere you go, when you work in a team, people assume things about you. And unless you can actually talk about who you are and what you have done, your value is not recognized. Now, for our own well-being, right, research shows that recognizing our accomplishments has positive effects on our confidence, our motivation, our consciousness, how we are, how aware we are of what we can do. Now, for others, when we share our experiences, we're really inspiring them, and we're maybe helping them learn from what we have been through, our stories. Sandra, yes, recognizing your potential. For our careers, sharing your achievements can be crucial to progression and growth, like Loyola was saying, for your resume. Now, knowing this is really important, right? It's important, I get that. But applying it can still have challenges. So, like I said, I have done the workshops, I've recognized my biases, but even for me, when after doing all of this, when I was put in a position where I had to stand up and speak to my own achievements, it still was challenging. I had to do a lot of prep work. I had to tell myself to frame it correctly, because when I first said it out loud, it would come across like, am I being rude? That was the first thought that would occur to me. Is that going to hurt somebody, or is that going to make them feel I'm not a great team player, right? And these are all valid concerns. And the more you practice, the more you try to put your achievements in your own words, in your stories, you recognize how to put them in a way that is confident, but it's not necessarily coming across as rude, right? And we're going to do that today. All right. Thank you, everyone, for sharing in chat. I appreciate your participation. Now, so after the most recent experience was Amazon, but there's a bunch behind that. But after this experience, I've again realized that it's okay to talk about your accomplishments, because as long as it's based on your accomplishments, on facts, it's not bragging, right? It's you have hard proof, hard evidence. So maybe you have worked on a project, you have helped being the leader, taken the leadership role, maybe accomplished a goal, maybe even volunteered and made a difference in some way. So why shouldn't you talk about it? Because not only may doing that help you with your own career success and progress, it may also help to inspire others. And a perfect example of that would be TED Talks. If you have ever seen that, they're so influential. They give me that vigor, that energy, that okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get over this mountain, right? And TED Talks are so popular because inherently, now when you hear these speakers' narrative, there is some sort of achievement, some mountain that they have overcome, some difficulty, some obstacle. And because we find hearing about these achievements to be inspirational and motivational, when we hear about their accomplishments, we feel great. We feel inspired. We feel like, okay, it's no different. When we share our accomplishments, are inspiring those around us. Now, maybe it could be one person, but you are still making a difference in that one person's life. So, this is also important because, let me move on. Very important. Accomplishments do not speak for themselves. One of the first things I share when I talk in I Am Remarkable is that, as you can see, I come from an Asian background. And in my culture, I was brought up to not talk about accomplishments, right? So, for example, if I achieved, I don't know, a top grade in an exam, we kind of said, oh, she did fine in the exam. We're going to be okay. But we never said, oh, she did great in that exam and in the competitive exam. Wonderful. I could never come out and say, I achieved something. I did well in my debate competition. I did well in my essay writing competition because it was always thought of as being rude. So in my cultural upbringing, it was always shared. It was always taught to me that you don't talk about your accomplishments because they speak for themselves. And I have been that way well into my adulthood. But I've had experiences where I came to realize that it's really not true that accomplishments speak for themselves because they don't. It's all about presentation. It's all about you promoting yourself. Well, it's not really you selling yourself. You're not being a salesperson for yourself, but you do have to put forward what you have achieved, because not everybody realizes that if you don't. And talking about accomplishments is a skill. I know, trust me. It is a muscle that needs flexing to be developed and strengthened over time. And it's okay to start playing around with this skill because it's like me when I started to go to Zumba many years ago, right? I loved it, but it also gave me sore muscles. It will take time, and you will also need some time to get in the right groove, if you will, in terms of Zumba. So you will not, initially, you will not get it right. And it might also feel odd. It might feel awkward. It might feel, that might not be what they're looking for. But please take the time to practice. You can look for role models to mimic and learn from. And TED Talks, you can look at coffee chats. I have done that in YouTube. You can look at these fireside chats or hear them on podcasts. And over time, you will find your own natural voice and really get comfortable with self-promoting in a way that resonates with you, that rings true to you. Okay. Any thoughts on that statement before I move on? Right? And thank you, William. Thank you for joining. Andrew, good afternoon. All righty, super excited. Thank you all for taking the time to join us. I really love the workshop and the thoughts it gives me. So thank you, and I hope you're also enjoying the same. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move on to our next slide. Okay, remember, it's important that we are able to understand and share the unique value of our work, our personality, of what we bring to the table, like someone said. And this is important for our own personal and professional benefit. Now, research shows that we cannot depend on other people to notice and understand us better than ourselves. For example, take a team effort. Sometimes you're given one task, and I have noticed this over and over with teams of capstone that we did with our senior students, right? We're dividing the whole teamwork into 4 people. Someone gets 2 tasks, but they're relatively smaller. Someone gets 1 task and they have a huge learning curve, or they encounter an issue that they really have to spend hours, maybe early mornings, late nights, and they accomplish it. But towards the end, it feels like, well, you have 1 task done. I had 2 tasks that I did. So you can't depend on others to know how much you have put in, right? Unless you speak up for yourself. Research, in fact, shows that only 1 in 2 employees feel their managers make sure they get credit for their work. And Loyola, yes, accomplishments not speaking is really key takeaway. Absolutely. And the more you start working in teams, the more you realize that that is so true. Thank you for sharing, Loyola. Now, furthermore, celebrating our achievements in small or big ways combat our brain's negativity bias by boosting our self-esteem and motivating us to achieve more. Sometimes when we are not accustomed to talking about our own accomplishments, our brain, the critic in our brain tells us, don't do it. You've done the work, just walk away. No, we're going to practice hearing our stories in our own voice. And as you do this more and more, you will get comfortable and it will feel natural. And then it will boost your self-esteem and self-confidence. Okay, moving on. It is not just our own beliefs about self-promotion that will be posing our barriers. The responses and the reactions we get from other people can be really challenging for our self-promotion, whatever efforts we're doing, for our ideas of self-promotion. So it helps feed that critic inside you saying, you should not talk about this out loud. Commonly held stereotypes can influence how we perceive the competence of people across many identities, including race, gender, age, ability, and neurodiversity. Now, when it comes to race, unconscious bias can mean the difference between looking at someone of a particular race and perceiving them to be naturally gifted, naturally talented, as opposed to looking at them and perceiving them to be someone who has just got lucky. People on the receiving end of these biases are always less likely to get credit for their ideas, for their speaking up achievements, and are often interrupted more during team interactions and have less influence on teams. Be mindful that everyone around you has a different perspective on and experience with self-promotion, and our own beliefs can shape not only how we perceive ourselves, but also when there's someone else doing self-promotion, how do you perceive or how do you receive what they're saying? Now, beyond this, there's cultural and familial expectations that are different, maybe, or directly conflicting our idea of self-promotion. And that's an example of what I was saying previously. So I was growing up and I never talked about my achievements because I believed, or I was always told, you let your accomplishments, whatever you have done, that speak for you. But over the years, I have also come to agree, accomplishments do not speak for themselves. All right, let's get moving. Now, language and bias. Coming from an Asian country, one of the biases that I have, well, it's been a good bias in a way, maybe, or it's been good for me, maybe, I should say. But one of the biases that I have most commonly experienced is I have heard people tell me, I once lost my voice. So in the very first meeting with someone, I did not really speak up and talk. I had laryngitis. The next time I met with this individual, surprisingly, they were expecting me to speak with an Indian accent. And they actually told me that. And it was a good, I think it was a good way of them saying, and I tried to give them a positive attitude, but it was a good perspective for me to realize they thought I would speak in a certain way based on how I look, right? So one of the things you might see in your workplace or any environment for that matter is there is typically a dominant language or a dialect. Now, while language can foster inclusion, there are also biases related to language and accents that can create exclusion in personal and even professional settings. This exclusion can come in many formats, including dismissal, ridicule, or harassment. And I have definitely seen that. Dismissal for sure. Not only is it discouraging to that individual sharing their contributions and accomplishment, but it also reinforces exclusive behaviors and it normalizes bias. If you observe this happening, please bring awareness to the group of their actions, as this may be unconscious and they are really not aware of how they are reacting to the other person. Okay, bias. Let's talk about bias and self-promotion. It's important for us to be proactively aware of our biases and intentionally disrupt them so we can support our well-being and growth while also learning from and being inspired by all the achievements, all the experiences and contributions of those that are around us. We need to keep in mind that bias can cause us to question, dismiss, or even misjudge accomplishments. It could also cause us to speak up less, and I have definitely been guilty of that, or create high bars for sharing our own achievements because of how we have been received when we do share accomplishments. And this is true for both personal and professional settings. Research shows that 55% of Black women leaders have had their judgment questioned, compared to 39% of all women and 28% of all men, and this is in the US and Canada. Furthermore, 1 in 2 employees have been mocked for their accent in social settings. Staggering results right there. And when we are intentionally inclusive, we can improve relationships and foster more creativity and solutions in both our personal and professional environments. Research shows that 90% of employees on teams where everyone's work is valued feel greater psychological safety, and 14% higher revenue from innovation for companies with diverse employees than those that don't have that diversity with them. So let's build inclusive behaviors so that everybody around us feels comfortable sharing their contributions so we can have better team experiences and more innovation and more joy and fulfillment in our lives. Now, we are in a very, very interesting part, my favorite part of our workshop. You have heard about why your accomplishments and talking about them is important. And we have talked about how this can feel awkward and odd. And we've talked about how we need to flex those muscles. All right, so this is what we're going to do. If you have a notepad and a pen with you, please feel free to use that. Or if you do have on a laptop, a notepad document, text document, sorry, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and do this. I want you to please think about all the reasons why you are remarkable. What are the contributions, accomplishments, and experiences that motivate you, that others could learn from or be inspired by, and that you want to build on moving forward? I want you to think about all of these accomplishments. Could be something really small. You will feel something really small. Please write that down. Every thought that tells you this is probably a reason why I am remarkable, please take a moment and write it down in the form of statements. Every statement you write down should start with the words, I am remarkable because. Remember, it is not bragging if it's based on facts. So think about everything that you have experienced in life, both personal and professional. Every single step that has brought you to be where you are today. You have plenty to be proud about. And nothing is too big or too small. So let loose. Feel comfortable. Please focus on what you have done or experienced, and not focus on the physical attributes or titles that other people have given you. We're going to treat this as a journaling exercise, and you will write for about 10 minutes. Okay, so for the next 9 minutes, it's 12:31 p.m. my time, up until 12:40 Central. Please take the time to write this down. Please know that this is a safe space. Thank you, Loyola. Yes, please physically write it down. It actually makes a difference. That's the first time I did it. I did write it down physically on paper. And then I'm going to pause and make sure anything in chat. Okay. Thank you, everyone. And we'll take the time to write this down as I... All right. So let me ask you, how was recognizing and sharing your achievements? Was that easier or harder than what you thought you would do? Right? Oh, William, thank you for sharing. Yes, absolutely. I'm not reading that out since we're recording now, but thank you. Oh my goodness, William, hats off to you. Hats off. Wonderful. And thank you. Thank you for sharing. So let's talk about how you feel. First question, right? We're not even going into the second one yet, but how did you feel about that? Was it easier, or even just writing it down, right? Was it harder or easier? And I'll tell you my answer. It was very hard. It was easier. Oh, thank you. Okay, Antoinette. Wonderful. I'm happy to hear that. It was very hard for me when I did my own workshop, simply because any idea of an accomplishment, of a thing to share that I'm proud of, I would immediately dismiss it, saying, no, that's not really an achievement, I mean, you haven't really done much. So it was very hard for me when I had to sit down and write. Okay. Thank you. Okay, Rosemary. Yes, it was harder. All right. All right. Nice. Okay. Now let me ask you, how did it feel listening or reading when other people shared their contributions? And what is it that you noticed? Right? Like think about, did you feel like the other participants were bragging? Or did you feel like, oh, that's truly an achievement? Right? And we need to hold on to that thought. What did you feel when the others around you are sharing their own accomplishments? It was harder. Yes, yes, William, thank you. Yes, it wasn't up to par. Absolutely. I agree. So, did you also feel that? Thank you, Loyola. Did you also feel like when you heard everybody else, did you feel like they were bragging honestly? Or, huh, they are doing something remarkable? And I think, William, that's what it speaks to, right? You felt like what you had achieved was not up to what they had achieved, what they had shared. The more you do the I am remarkable list, yes. To me, I had exactly what William is talking about. I felt that everything on my list, including doing a PhD with both my kids, so both my kids were born during my PhD, including that, which was on my list when I did this workshop, I still felt that I was fake. Imposter syndrome, anyone? Right? So, this is why we need to build a muscle that allows us to better promote our work and ourselves to others. It could be in the workplace, it could be at home, or it could be everywhere. So, one thing I want to ask of you is start by simply becoming more aware of how many times you put yourself down instead of building yourself up, right? That's the first thing we do. And especially for me, I'm my worst critic. I always say, oh, that's not a big deal. That's not a big achievement. That's not true all the time, but it will come to you. You will gradually build that muscle, and you owe it to yourself. Nobody in this world knows your work or your struggle better than you. And you have to be true and just to yourself. And remember, research shows us that sharing our achievement builds confidence and it motivates us to do more, to be greater. And not only that, there is someone out there who you're going to inspire, who you're going to motivate to follow you what you have achieved, right? Okay. All right. So I'm going to help you with a couple follow-up exercises because one of the things with this muscle that we have just started using is that it's like that, that rubber band. The more you stretch it, the more easier it will listen to you. Otherwise, it's just going to become tight. And every time you try to promote yourself, you might not find that you're putting it in the right way because you become really self-conscious and you sound tight, you don't sound natural, right? So to avoid that, self-promotion, just like any other skill, will need you to practice. So some of the follow-up exercises and that I have personally done so that you get that confidence and you start feeling comfortable when you talk about your own achievement stories are these. So today was our starting point, but you need to actively keep working or building that muscle. Yes. So first, and this is what I started off with, is that I would start journaling. You could do this once a day. You could do this once a week. Just take the time to pause and reflect on what you have done. It could be something as simple as I read 10 minutes of this book that has been sitting on my shelf for the last 6 months. Sometimes that makes a huge difference. Those 10 pages make a huge difference. Something as simple as that. I used to maintain a journal, like a physical journal, and write this down in the mornings. You could do this as your Saturday or Sunday activity in the morning, or it could become your daily nighttime journaling. Whatever it is that works for you, please find that and start logging your achievements, your accomplishments. What is it that was hard, that made it hard for you to get out of bed today, but how you did get up and went through the day? That's all we're focusing at, right? Please take the time to do that. Next, once you have done that, right, get into the habit of sharing your achievements. After you have done enough journaling, you will feel comfortable to share that. And you can choose someone in your family, maybe your best friend. Talk to them about the workshop. Ask them how they feel, and you know that you're in a safe space with them. And then you can start sharing. It could become something that you help your partner, you help your friend, you help your kids, anybody really, to start talking about accomplishments, however big or small you feel like they are. In workplaces too, that works. And we actually have a remarkable Wednesday, because it's kind of, the midpoint of the week, if you will. So it's a good time for a bit of uplifting. Like Thursday, I'm already like in a pre-Friday happy mood, right? So every Wednesday, we have a group at work that we share about why we are remarkable. Maybe you could have a group at work, maybe you could have a WhatsApp group, whatever works for you, but find that and practice. The more, if you have ever been practicing maybe for a presentation or to go to an interview, you know that you have done that. You know, you try to speak and hear how you come across. That is going to help you a lot, because the more you talk out loud, the more chance you have of reflecting on your language choices so that it comes across naturally, but it's not coming across as if you're trying to put someone else down or you're trying to be rude. And once you have built your courage and your self-promotion muscle, you can start sharing your accomplishments with someone you're not very comfortable with. Yes, Antoinette, absolutely. Fine. There's going to be people who will enjoy this as much as you are enjoying it now. And the more you do it, the more you realize the value of it. Okay. You could also, for even just getting started, go into Remarkable, the g.co/I am remarkable website for more exercises. So that could be a starting point where maybe you just started with 1 or 2 people, even with your best friend, even with your spouse or your partner or your kid or your friend, your siblings, anybody. It takes only 2 people to get that started, and you'll see how it can have a positive impact on both of you. All right. Loyola is asking, okay, what does GroupMe? Okay. I think it's something like, I've heard it amongst my students before. All right. What else can you do? You can also be an advocate, right? We can all be advocates for each other by encouraging those that are around us to recognize and share their achievements, especially if you are in a privileged role in your workplace where maybe it's you speak English and you have a non-native English speaker. You can support them, you can encourage them, and you can also model the behavior for others to follow. Now, remember, if especially in work or achievements, right, personal or professional, please attribute your ideas correctly. Acknowledge accomplishments around, acknowledge accomplishments, acknowledge accomplishments around you to ensure people are recognized for their achievements and help them notice that they are making a difference. Also, if you find yourself questioning an accomplishment or something, a contribution that you've done, seek to understand what is being shared so you don't miss an opportunity to learn or be inspired. And go back and re-examine your biases. Okay. And lastly, I'm going to pause here. You don't have to do this now because Loyola will be sending out this participation survey. This participation survey is very, very important to Google. They do our stats on here, so it's very important for me. I'm going to put my facilitator ID in here, but I'm also going to have Loyola will be sending out the survey link and my facilitator ID. Now, I want to pause here and thank you all for joining. I'm not going to have you do the survey right now. It's going to eat up a little bit of our time. But I am going to go ahead. I have a couple more things I want to point out before we end and wrap up here. So I'm going to go show you those real quick. Yes, thank you, Loyola. Please drop your email address in the chat to receive the facilitator survey. It really helps for me and for Google to understand how many people have attended the I Am Remarkable workshops. Thank you, everyone. All right. I Am Remarkable is having real impact and it's growing every day. Participants who have been surveyed 3 months after the workshop say they experienced real changes in their careers and in their confidence. So please take advantage of what you have looked at today. Please go back, look at what you have written down, and re-examine how you thought through that process. Take the time to maybe start journaling your achievements, your accomplishments. Take the time to maybe also start sharing those in a group or with just one person, some safe space you're comfortable with. There's a video that I will go ahead and drop in the chat, simply because I'm not aware if I can share. Let me make sure I'm sharing my audio here. So, okay, and let's see. I'm going to go ahead and play this. Let's see if you can hear me. Please let me know if you can hear the video.
Hi, my name is Anna Viner. I'm the founder of I Am Remarkable. I wanted to say a huge thank you for
Are you
taking
able
the
to
time
hear
and
the
joining
video?
the I Am Remarkable workshop today. And thank you for taking the time to recognize how wonderful and unique you are. Remember, this workshop is just the first step in your journey. When you come back home, I want you to take a piece of paper and write down your accomplishments from the past 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. Then stand in front of the mirror and read it out loud. Then do it with a family member or a colleague that you trust, and then book some time with your manager and share it with them. Make it a habit. Talking about your accomplishments is not easy. No one was born with that magical skill of talking about their achievements.
Yeah.
It really takes practice. And I have one personal favor to ask. Help us spread the word. Bring on Remarkable to your family, to your university, to your organization. And you can do it by going to our website and signing up. And don't forget, stay remarkable.
Right on, right on. So I personally love doing this. It's,
Hi.
oh, I'm sorry. I personally enjoy this a lot.
Hi.
And
my name's Anna Viner.
it's not letting me move, but all right, there we go. Okay, I want to go ahead and thank everyone who has come in here, everyone for sharing. I hope you have really enjoyed this workshop. I hope you have seen how we think about self-promoting. Maybe you did not look at it this way before, right? So please pat yourself on the back. Kudos to everybody. Yes, kudos to everybody. Please keep practicing, keep sharing your accomplishments. You can join I Am Remarkable even as a facilitator. You can do multiple of these workshops. And I'm going to drop one more YouTube video for you to watch, but I know we're a little over time, so I'm not going to make you watch it right now. But if you feel comfortable, you can also watch it right now. I'm going to still play it here, but I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you for your time. Again, I really, really, really believe everybody here is remarkable. Thank you. And I'm going to go ahead, play the video. I would really ask you to please take a few minutes to drop in your survey, which is separate from what Loyola has posted here. The facilitator survey goes back directly to Google, to I Am Remarkable, and they need to see it from you. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and play this video. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and do this video. This is not that. There we go. This is my favorite video, everyone. I'm going to drop the video link in case you have to leave here, but I'm also going to go ahead and play it right now. Okay.
Please write down your answer to I'm remarkable because.
So I'm remarkable because.
It's really hard.
It is.
Okay, I'm done.
How did it feel to write it?
Weird.
Okay. Would you mind reading it out loud?
Oh my god. I'm remarkable. I'm remarkable because all the kids that I have taught actually love me and they still remember me till this day. After I turned 40, for the first time in my life, I also tried things that I'm not very good at. I can rhyme really well, but don't ask me to right now. I'm funny. I think I am. I follow my dreams once I figure them out.
I am remarkable because I challenge myself every day, even if these are small challenges.
Because I want my life to have meaning.
I'm remarkable because I survived cancer when I was 17.
Because I'm optimistic.
When I'm in tough situations, I stop and I smile. I'm a pretty good mom. Like, I think I'm really doing a good job.
So how did it feel to say it out loud?
It felt kind of nice to say it out loud.
Pretty good. I think it's easier to say why we're not doing that well, to criticize ourselves. I feel like you may have only one or two things to say. Then you realize that you have more and you have more.
There's so many great things going on that when I forget it, all I have to do is think about these things, and then it's like a chiropractic adjustment in my mood. It's like
Makes you think like, what else can I do?